Hey everybody, Desmo here. In today's video I'm going to present my Smite of Divine Judgment Trickster Energy Blade. Let's do a quick live showcase because even if you saw the build in action in the intro footage, there's nothing you can trust more than live, right? Here I got the fragments for Uber Eater of the World, so let's see how it goes. Now that we have seen the build in action, let's see how it works and what we are doing. To begin with, why is this build so good? We have over 200 million DPS, we are curse immune, element immune, we have a decent EHP pool that goes over 200,000, but we can go even higher if we want to focus more on defense. We are also chaos damage immune and so on. We got an amazing clear while going so fast you could clear normal maps in a few seconds. Now, there is two things that we need to address before getting deep into the build. Why Energy Blade and how much this build cost. We're using Energy Blade instead of Ephemeral Edge because it's way cheaper and gives more DPS, especially with a crit focus setup. The trade-off is that we are giving away about 40% of our energy shield pool. Also, this setup is cheaper but not cheap. It is a far endgame build which requires high investment. I will detail everything in the video, including character progression, gears, skill and gems, skill tree, crafting and more. PoE will be linked in the description, so get yourself comfortable and let's get into it. First, let's cover the core mechanics of the build. There are four main components for this build: Energy Blade, Calling Whisper, Trickster and the Mercenary. Energy Blade is going to give us flat lightning damage based on our energy shield pool. That covers our flat damage entirely. Any other source becomes meaningless. So we are stacking as much energy shield as we can, from armor pieces, the skill tree and jewels. This gives us both defense and offense, which is usually what makes a good PoE build, stacking something that gives both. Next, let me explain the meta curse setup with Calling Whisper that gives us permanent Soul Eater. Soul Eater is a buff that grants 5% increased attack and cast speed per soul up to 225%, and will reach maximum souls in a snap. You saw that in the boss fight. That makes any build feel good, whether it's attack or cast base. I will break down how Calling Whisper works, but you don't need to remember all of this. When 90% of our cast duration expires, we eat 1 soul per enemy power. Enemy power works like war cries. Rarity of the enemy is going to define how much we get, from 1 on a normal enemy, up to 20 for a unique one. That means that this tech is also working perfectly on boss farming with single targets. The only thing that you need to understand is that the hex duration matters for two reasons. First, we want to eat soul as fast as possible. Second, because we use a skill to automatically apply hex so we never need to pay attention to it. For that, we are using Bladefall of Process because we activate it once and then it's gonna hit every 0.7 second forever. That means we need our hex to last 0.69 second at most to prevent it to be override by a new instance of the curse which would prevent soul gain. It may sound complex, but it's actually very simple. You can use PoE to make sure to get the number right and to play with your setup to fine-tune it. Now there is a different setup for different investments. I'm on the expensive side with a ring which reduces skill effect duration. I'll explain how to craft it in the gear section of the video. You can skip that ring and go for cheaper setup using only skill point on your passive skill tree. Make sure to link Bladefall with Hex Touch, Temporal Chain and less duration support, and to adjust the level of your gem according to the amount of skill effect duration you have on your build. Let me show you for mine as an example. Here we are in PoE, we have the skill effect duration. I have 45% reduced skill effect duration on my ring. That means that if we change the level of the gems here, especially Temporal Chain and Hex Touch, this one, if you have low amount of reduction, you should keep them level 1 with 0 quality. But if you have more reduced skill effect duration, you may need higher level for your gems. If you check, if I level Temporal Chain and Hex Touch, for instance, at level 6, you can see that the duration of my skill went higher. It went from about 0.1 to 0.2. With that out of the way, let's check the Trickster Ascendancy now. Any build that revolves around energy shield will be extremely good with Trickster because you get a lot of damage and tankiness from it. Every nodes are absolutely amazing, and this is why we are getting Forbidden Flesh and Flame once we have the money to get even more points on the Ascendancy. Escape Artist is pure stacking, more evasion and energy shield. Old Drinker works like Slayer for life. We leech a ton of energy shield and the leech is not removed when we reach full ES. Spellbreaker is an absolute monster for defense, making us prevent more spell suppress damage and making ES recharge start when we suppress spell damage and giving 20% spell suppression on top. One step ahead is preventing action speed reduction, and Polymath is pure damage. In the next part, let's cover the gears and how to craft them. Your weapon first because it's very simple. Since we use Energy Blade and it's replacing our weapon, all you want is a sword with Abyssal Socket because sockets are the only thing that remains once we activate the buff. Look on trade for any sword like that, it's the cheapest way to get one. For the helm, gloves, boots and shield, I highly recommend to buy a base with Fracture Intelligence if you want to craft yourself, then use Dense Fossil until you get high enough energy shield. Then, if you're happy with the suffixes, you're done. If not, if you have full affixes, you need to annul a suffix. On every piece of gear, you can Eldritch Annul to deterministically annul a suffix if Eater of Worlds is dominant. To make Eater of World dominant, just use the proper currency. It doesn't matter what you get, you can replace the implicit later. There is only the shield where it's not possible because you cannot get Eldritch Implicit on it, which makes it one of the hardest craft on this build. After the first part, if you have an open suffix, then you can craft prefixes cannot be changed, and then you have different options. You can use Veil Chaos Orb to slam some Veil modifier, as I did for the shield and the boots, and since so many affixes are already full on the item, you have a very high chance of only getting the Veil modifier when slamming the Chaos Veil Orb. If you're unlucky, you may fail the affixes, and if you have bad modifiers, you will need to annul a suffix. If it is any other piece of gear than the shield, you can use the Eldritch Annul again, and it's gonna be fine. If this is the shield, you will have to use a normal annulment orb, and there's the chance that if you hit a prefix, you break the item completely and you will have to start over. I'm going to show you the process with the helm here in live. I have the base, we are using Resonator with Dense Fossil, and we slam until we get decent prefix for energy shield. If you have two good modifiers, you can try to slam an Exalt to get the last one. Then make Eater of World dominant for the suffixes and annul. Now that we have cleared the suffixes, you can divine the item if it's really good. Then we have two options. The first is the one that I talked about before. We use the Chaos Veil Orb, we lock the prefixes, and we slam. We craft a Veil modifier to make sure not to get it when we unveil. And then we unveil. If you hit something you don't want, we can repeat the process. Remember, if you fill the suffixes, you just need to use Eldritch Orb of Annulment to fix the item. The other option is to go with Harvest. You do the same thing, you lock prefixes and then you go Harvest Reforge according to what you need. Here I needed Cold Resistance, so I'm gonna do Harvest Cold Reforge and then try to get an open suffix to craft more resistances. The process is the same for the boots and the gloves. Now let's move on to the next item. This is the body armor. It is one of the most expensive items on the build, so don't go for the perfect if you don't have the money. Crafting is similar to the other gears, but since global defense is not accessible via crafting, we buy a base with Fracture Global Defense, meaning that to get intelligence we need to use essences. Then we slam until we get tier 1 spell suppression, and then we use Eldritch Chaos Orb until any of tier 1 flat defense or tier 1 increased defense. Then we use Eldritch Exalt and Annulment to get the other one. Note that you want to have only 2 suffixes while doing that to increase your chance of rolling prefixes with Eldritch Chaos Orb. For the next step, you can use Tailoring Orb to get the enchantment to increase defense. Then link the sockets, and at the end use Blanching Omen to get 3 white sockets. Then use Harvest Craft to get 6 white sockets. The expected cost for white socket is about 20 divines, so be careful. The very last part is to deal with the implicit of the body armor. You need to use Eldritch Currency to get the right modifier, then Orb of Conflict to raise the tier of the desired modifier. This is very painful and it cost me about 40 divines. Very unlucky. Speaking of implicit, I'll go over what we need. For body and helm, we want physical mitigation to chaos. Since we are chaos inoculation, this is best. Then aura effect for the body and max lightning resistance for the helm. On gloves, we want non-val skill strike an additional enemy, and lightning exposure, because exposure allows us to use the lightning mastery for a lot of additional crit chance. On the boots, you should go for action speed and cooldown recovery. It doesn't matter that much, which is why I got the useless ailment avoidance here. Now for the amulet. It is great because we get a lot of energy shield from it, and it converts all the mana cost to energy shield cost, meaning that we never need to worry about it anymore. You want as much energy shield as possible, but make sure to also be careful on the reduced mana roll because it could make fitting high level precision impossible. You also need to anoint Whisper of Doom to get Frenzy and Power Charge generation, because otherwise you won't be able to apply your mark. About the ring, if you're on a low investment and use the reduced skill effect duration on the tree, you can use any ring and go for some modifiers like energy shield, resistance, elemental damage with attack, which is also really good, but whatever you need. If you're on a high investment, you can craft a ring like me. As you can see in the footage, you buy the base with increased skill effect duration fractured, then you slam an intelligence essence and annul all of the modifier. Then you beastcraft level 30 aspect of the spider, and as an optional last step, you can exalt, slam and craft some prefixes, or lux affixes, and veil chaos orb. Having more modifiers may help to get the proper result, since after that we are going to use reflecting mist to make increased skill effect duration go negative. Aspect skills are good because they cannot go positive or negative and can eat up negative effects, giving us better odds of success. Same thing for the prefixes, just make sure not to have anything that could harm your build, like elemental damage with attack. If it goes negative, this is really bad. Last item on the list is Mageblood. This one is pretty obvious, it gives us max elemental resistance, stun immune, element immune in combination with Storm Shroud, curse immune, some DPS and speed, a lot of resistance, and some attributes. I wouldn't start the build without it, but you can, and I'll speak about that on the last part of the video. Now let's speak about the Mercenary, because a lot of our damage comes from it. Without them, we lose 2/3 of our damage. You can check on PoE. We use Doriani's prototype in combination with 2 rings that we craft the exact same way as I showed before with the mist. For max DPS, you need about 190 negative lightning resistance. Then you want to stack armor, life regeneration, and fire resistance on your merc to make him really tanky. Fire resistance is going to increase its armor with Formless Helmet. I got the ID from Big Daddy, make sure to check him out. His YouTube channel will be linked in the description. For the Mercenary, the perfect one is the Eruptor with Purity of Fire, which will make him even tankier, and Determination, which is good for both of us, and Firelink for additional DPS. I didn't find him yet, but if you can get the infamous one, it's going to be absolutely amazing. Now for the skill tree. There is a few important things for the item that we are using here. I found the perfect timeless jewel for the build, and it's not even expensive. I got mine for 1 divine. If you don't find the same, what you really want is chance to intimidate on hit and rage on hit. On top of that, chance to get endurance charge on kill is really nice, and chance to deal double damage. For Spread of Hope, you want to place it next to Supreme Ego with a good resistance roll. It's giving us access to a lot of offense and defense, crit, speed, block, spell suppression, and so on. It's worth every penny. About Light of the Meaning, prices went through the roof over the last few weeks, so keep that in mind, it's going to be expensive. You can consider replacing it by a rare jewel, like this one for instance, or Watch or Die with crit multi with precision and some good modifiers combo like Grace or Discipline. Large clusters are also very important since we are getting a lot of energy shield from them with intelligence and flat ES. If you go for something similar as the one that I have, count between 30 and 60 divines for a piece. I do not recommend to craft yourself, this is way too much time wasted when we can farm far over 20 divines per hour with this build. For the skill tree itself, it will be linked in the description, so I will not detail every node here, but I'll mention a couple of important things. Pay attention to the masteries. Some of them are highly necessary, like the accuracy one that gives accuracy equal to intelligence. Another one is the rune graft of Fortress that we get from runes from King's March. When you get this one, be careful that your attributes are still going to be fine. Lethal Pride helps a lot with strength, so maybe get this one first. Now let's speak quickly about the gem setup. There is nothing special here since we already covered the hex setup, but for the main skill we are using Smite of Divine Judgment because it has great clear and DPS, linked with Awaken Elemental Damage with Attack, which is giving us immunity to Elemental Reflection at level 5, damage on full life, which is great because we are always on full life, Awaken Multi-Strike if you have the money, normal version if you don't, increase critical damage for more crit multi, and Volatility for more maximum damage, which is absolutely amazing for lightning damage. As you can see on my tooltip DPS, I have 2000 minimum damage and 260,000 maximum damage, so the difference between the minimum and the maximum is huge. For the auras, we are using Discipline, Grace and Precision. Try to get Precision as high level as you can fit. Link them with Enlighten level 4. If you're on a budget, get Discipline level 3 and more mana reservation efficiency nodes on the passive skill tree. You can also lower the level of Precision. For movement skills, we are using Whirling Blades linked to faster attack support on our weapon, and we add Frost Blink for maps with a lot of slow effect like Delirium. You can swap Stone Golem with Frost Blink. Next we have Enhance linked to Assassin Mark, Mark on Hit and Energy Blade. Lastly, we have a cast when damage taken setup linked to Immortal Call and Stone Golem. Level them as much as your strengths allow you to do. For the last part of the video, I'm going to speak about character leveling and progression. I have dedicated leveling guide on my channel and you should absolutely go for Holopalm technique. Video link is here on top of the screen and in the description. You can check that after the video. If you want, you can push Holopalm technique up to level 80 to 90. After the campaign it starts to be squishy, but with a little bit of investment it can still feel good in endgame. Alternatively, you can go for Explosive Concoction. It is also really strong. I haven't tried it myself on Trickster, but I have no doubt that it's going to be fine. And we have covered pretty much everything for the build. If you have any question or things you want to add to this guide, leave a comment. Please like, share and subscribe. This is helping me so much creating more videos. And this is all I got for today, so until my next video, take care of yourself and bye!
Last night I had a dream, dropped the mirror on stream. Oh my god, what's so clean, best thing I've ever seen.